The most important thing to note when you're moving around as a support is that when it comes to power spikes, you want to make sure you're utilizing this. And what I mean, again, is a good example here is Pudge. When he starts to get his rot, his movement, and meat hook, it's very easy for him to secure early kills and give lanes a massive advantage. If you're not utilizing that, all it really is a threat on the map that you're not actually applying into pressure. The main purpose of your rotation should be to secure something. And when I say something, it can be an objective, as in pushing a lane, or even just to secure the lane stability. So for example, the Silencer's just sort of sitting here, right? Doesn't look like he's doing too much, but what this allows the Bloodseeker to do is he doesn't have to be scared of any rotations coming in. So as you saw, he might have died to the Pudge, but the Bloodseeker picked up a nice kill, and now he sort of just gets to the lane and do whatever he wants. And this is scary for the Underlord, now he's forced to leave. So it can be as simple as that. A more advanced example would be to single pull the creeps around 3 minutes, which will give you a double wave for the catapult wave, which will lead into a very nice transition to pushing the tower. This isn't necessarily a support specific movement, but nonetheless it's usually going to be dictated by support, and it's very important to know how to do these things. When it comes to making rotations as a support, it's very important to understand resources and making sure that you're utilizing resources properly. Resources don't necessarily have to be mana and health or regen. It can also be consumables such as Smoke of Deceit. So as you can see here, it's pretty easy to get a kill on Shadow Fiend, but he's a pretty mobile hero, and if he places his hero correctly in the lane, for example if he plays in the bottom half of the river, it's very hard for us to get a kill on him. Knowing this, we know that it's a very easy kill if we were to smoke on him though. And there's a lot of synergy between Every Spirit Chains with Pudge Hook, as well as Rubik Lift to displace people in the river, and it leads to very easy kills in the mid lane. So as you can see here, it's one of the easiest ways to kill a mid laner at the moment. One thing I can't stress enough when it comes to making these rotations successful is analyzing whether or not you have the resources available to your disposal when you make these plays. For example, if we had gone for that play in the mid lane when I did not have mana to telekinesis, or say Pudge Hook was on cooldown, or some resource wasn't in place, then it's a waste of time. I like to refer to this as one last creep syndrome, and what I mean by this is there's a lot of people who will farm the neutrals, or they'll farm a lane until they're basically dry of all resources, whether that be a cooldown or their health or mana. And then they'll make an excuse later on saying something like, oh, I couldn't TP because I didn't have health or mana. When in reality, the underlying problem isn't that they didn't have those things because of a real reason, it's more just an excuse. Because at any point they could have gone back and prioritized being what my old captain liked to call being battle ready. And basically what being battle ready means is you're available to TP and respond to anything or be able to make a play. It's just as important as having these things, because if you say you're a level 6 Enigma, right, and you have Black Hole, the threat of Black Hole is great, but if you are seen without resources, then that's going to be communicated pretty quickly and you might just get punished for it. Not only is it good to understand how to make these rotations, but it's good to understand the impact it will have on the game. Some rotations may not be perfect and have the highest impact, but nonetheless, it's better than not making a rotation at all. A good example, again, is the 3-minute camp spawn. If you single pull it and you transition into a tower push, not only does this lead into a pretty easy siege on the tower, but it will cause pressure and force enemies down here. So if you have a kill lane, it sets up an easy opportunity to dive the offlaner and kill them. If you don't do that, and you single pull and you don't understand the reason of doing it, then all you're really doing is building up a double wave for the offlaner to pull off the tower and safely farm behind his tower. So again, it's important to understand all these basic concepts when making these calls, because sometimes there will be an underlying factor that you're not looking for. And even then, it's good to make mistakes, so I highly recommend to push your limits and make rotations and fail, than to not make them at all. Because through doing that, you'll learn much more about your game and basically how to improve it. A very basic example of a low impact rotation could be something as simple as sitting here as a support and waiting for your mid laner or whoever needs a rune to come and grab it. It may not be the most game-winning thing to do, but sometimes it can be very game-changing. For example, if you secure a regen rune for an offlaner, or even a mid laner who is really low HP and mana, and instead of having to go back to base, they can just simply run up and grab the rune. With the new addition to all the bounty runes on the map that spawn every 2 minutes, another common thing that a lot of people are doing these days on the 4-role support is actually just running around, and when there's nothing to do or they can't see a play for themselves, all they do is they help their own game by going to grab the bounty runes, which also denies the enemies of their own bounty runes. This is really important because it's basically just more creep. Well, it's not a creep, but it's more golden EXP on the map that you can find. So by utilizing that, not only are you staying off the map, which is very important, so you're being unseen, which causes some pressure, but you're also boosting your own golden EXP. And during all this time, you can also consider what you want to be doing on the map, which is better sometimes to do off the map than just sitting in a lane and showing your hero.